Now, I know, she's a grieving widow. She's a grieving widow. Very required that I say that. And we are therefore not allowed to speak about her turning point, family, or why the hell her mother was ever put on any board in the first place. But you know what? Billions of dollars are on the line, so I'd like to mark myself safe from being emotionally manipulated by Operation Erika Bird. Welcome back to Bride of Erika. Bride of Erika. Bride of Erika.
A lot of people thought this was going to be something different. It's just more of the same. More slop. Non-stop slop. Except for when she takes a break for a couple of weeks to hype people up again, to tune back in hopes of seeing something new, something big. Because she's always getting close to something big. And of course, her most devout followers believe that they've found something. But the something is nothing. It's a big old nothing burger. It always is. Since Candace Owens isn't really investigating anything. I mean, she never even visited the crime scene, so she's just satisfying her main character syndrome urges, I suppose. And we'll see how long this goes, but before I go on any longer, let me just get right into this. And you can feel free to disagree with me. Let me know in the comments below what you think, what you know. I know many people do disagree with me. I think that if you do disagree with me on this, well, let's just say that you're setting the bar really low for what it means to have a brain. I digress. Candace Owens for 5+ months. We're getting close to something big. Candace Owens now. Coming soon. A hit piece on a woman whose husband was murdered in front of the world. And keep in mind that I posted this a few days ago after the release of the trailer. But she has not revealed anything worth adding to this at this point. Just more of the slop fest. More of the nothing burger. More slices of meat. Meaningless meat on the nothing burger. I've been saying for months that Charlie Kirk's assassination was just another Becoming Brigitte docuseries to Candace, except far more lucrative, both monetarily and publicity-wise, and driven by both jealousy and spite. Candace is the unrivaled embodiment of, with friends like these, who needs enemies? When Candace posted, "Erika knows everything," just 3 days after Charlie's death, she was already laying the groundwork of implication and ultimately despicable defamation, despite simultaneously pretending that she was somehow defending Erika. So after 60+ straight episodes of wild speculation and endless smears, it's no surprise that Candace eventually began outright calling for her friend's widow to be dragged to the police precinct and thrown into prison. Using the word friends there lightly. I reiterate, if Candace Owens had to choose to convict either Tyler Robinson, the actual suspect, or Erika Kirk, she'd shout, "Free Barabbas," and sentence the grieving widow to life, as her cult of followers claimed that is the only way to avenge Charlie. Though most of those remaining followers, never even liked him in the first place. These people range between delusional and deranged. Candace recently referred to her podcast as God's platform, yet she has become one of the most God-forsaking entities on the internet. And what she's been doing is the epitome of evil. Meanwhile, she scoffs about how her opposition is going to burn in hell for an eternity. I'd argue that this particular chapter of her extensive grifting career began back in November of 2023, when she realized that the phrase, "Christ is King," was to Jews what sunlight is to vampires, shortly before she was fired from Daily Wire, shortly before she announced she was a Catholic, to distinguish herself from the Jewified Christianity of Zionism. Source, Candace and Ian Carroll. She rode the coattails of conservatism until it ceased to cater to her, and she has been running on vibes and vitriol ever since. I digress. Candace alternates between the masses agree with me and the masses are attacking me, like a bipolar person alone on a teeter-totter. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, it's as if there's a position open for mass psychosis poster child and she's building a resume. So, there we have both the appeal to authority and the appeal to the masses. And I'll just throw in one more manipulation tactic while I'm at it. Appeal to emotion. Candace claimed both that Erika was too emotional to take over TPUSA, and also that she wasn't emotional enough to be a grieving widow. Then again, Candace also initially claimed she was glad Erika was the one taking over, only to turn around and insist she shouldn't be widowed into the role. Try to square those circles. As if that's not enough evidence she's a pathological liar, Candace in one podcast claimed she resigned from TPUSA in 2019 because Charlie lied to her about money and meetings. Then in another podcast, she actually compared Charlie to Satan and said he fired her because of her stance on Gaza, which wouldn't even make sense, seeing as how she was gone from TPUSA long before what happened in Gaza. When people on the left were dancing and spitting on the grave of Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens was like, "Hold my beer." And she has proceeded to weave a web of conspiracy so worldwide that not a single person, namely her, could say what her own indictment would look like if she were to pause her endless process of addition long enough to publish something official. Oh, that's right. She takes issue with the official narrative to deflect from the fact that nothing she says is remotely official or even provable. Unless you consider it proof when she claims that Charlie visits her dreams from purgatory to reveal just enough to keep both her and her viewers guessing. Of course, she also claims that witches put a curse on him just before he was killed. And I suppose he somehow didn't suspect that despite his special powers, third eye, astral projecting, and maybe even an ability to time travel. Her words. My point is, she's crazy, at best. However, she typically tries to frame things in a way to give her just enough plausible deniability to argue that she didn't technically say something, as she simultaneously condemns anyone who denies what she clearly implied. Candace's strategy in a nutshell. Candace. To be clear, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. Translation. I'm just asking questions, but asking questions automatically makes me a truth teller. So if you dispute the suggestions and statements within my questions, then that makes you the liar. And therefore you're guilty of everything I'm somehow not technically accusing you of as I expose your guilt. The thing is, Candace's so-called investigation is really just armchair opposition research and muckraking. She'll follow anything except the actual lead, implicate anyone except the actual suspect, visit every scheme without ever visiting the actual crime scene, discuss it only with those who won't dispute her, and demand total subservience to her stupidity as she leaves a trail of illogical loose ends long enough to wrap around the earth and remind her the earth isn't flat. Lastly, I really hope that people on here aren't dumb enough to fall for such delusions and deceptions. But, unfortunately, a lot of people are. At the time of this screenshot, 1 million people had seen the trailer, so to speak. Many more have seen it now. Many have seen her last few podcasts as well. Though this is already just an extension of her previous podcasts. Some investigation, right? no actual time frame, no end goal in mind. Meanwhile, the actual trial is set to take place in the not too distant future. So maybe she's just pushing her limits until this time passes, because she knows that after that, TPUSA is going to lay the legal hammer down on her. Or maybe, just maybe, even if they don't do that, Tyler Robinson will be in jail. The remaining people who are following her will give up the grift and accept that, at least in this case, the official narrative is the one that makes the most sense by far. Clear-cut case. What can I say? Occam's razor over Candace's razor. Candace is becoming a real cancer to society, if you ask me. But the candy tards are louder and prouder than ever. So, to each their own, I suppose. Like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Keep in touch, keep in tune. New content is coming soon. That's it for me for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace. And my apologies for the poor camera quality. It's just what I'm working with tonight.